Hi, everyone. I'm so glad you are joining me today. Today, we have a great topic I want to talk about. The topic has to do with PR, when to engage crisis communications, and what a proper publicist or slash crisis communications manager will do. So, we have two things trending in the marketplace today. So, consider this a mini case study. The first is Letitia James, New York Attorney General, and the second is Katie Porter, who we know is running for office in California. There are several things that we see that are starting to, that I say, shall I say, challenge their reputation. The first thing is when you immediately start to get blowback for whatever reason, whether that is saying too much in the case of Letitia James and having press conferences, or if you are have starting to have a reputation that you feel is not authentic to yourself, but other people are starting to build a narrative around your personality. That is when it's time for you to immediately engage a crisis communications person or PR manager. But let's say you don't have the budget and you want to be able to track and monitor that yourself. So the first thing you need to do is start what we call sentiment tracking. Sentiment tracking is when you can start to assess what people are saying about you, what the tone or sentiment of your name or your initiative, your campaign, whatever it may be, your product or your service. Sentiment tracking is going to help you monitor whether or not you have positive sentiment or negative sentiment. The first thing that you want to do is get some kind of press relation PR tool or sentiment tracking tool like Brand 24. We use that oftentimes for our clients. You can also do that through other PR platforms. So what you just want to do is Google sentiment tracking, and then you enter your name in sentiment tracking, and what will start in your name, any campaign, initiative, or something that is tied or affiliated with you. Oftentimes that you could do sentiment tracking, use the software for something as little as $20 a month. It doesn't have to be that much. We have a lot of clients that we track the sentiment on. So what that means is we would not be in a situation where we may have one sentiment. We may be tracking at least 30 to 40 different sentiments, names, products, services, initiatives, word or phrases that are tied to their customer or their product or packaged good or consumer goods. So you want to be able to track the sentiment. You enter your name in the sentiment tracking software, and what it will do is it will pull up all the data that is affiliated with your name, with your product, or your service. So in this case, let's say Towan Isom. You enter my name in the sentiment tracking, and it will pull up everything from blogs, from articles, social media influencers, everything that is affiliated with my name. And what you will start to see is there is a function within the software tool where you can see whether the sentiment is neutral, positive, or negative. So, one of the things that's important for you to understand is that you always want to maintain positive sentiment, even when you're not trying to message or have a narrative out there. The reason why you want to do that is because when something negative happens, you can never move your sentiment from negative to positive. I don't care what anyone says, you can move it from negative to neutral. But if you already have a positive sentiment and something happens, you can always start at neutral to positive because you've been doing the work throughout the whole process and tracking, and you're just building thought leadership, being affiliated with causes, organizations, nonprofit organizations, being out there, being in the community, or just really making sure that you message your reputation. Reputation management is essential, and oftentimes people don't do it or they don't know how to do it, and this is just new information, which is why I'm here. So with that being said, you start to track your reputation, and you are always monitoring that reputation to ensure that your reputation is clean. Now, in the case with Letitia James, these are political figures. I just want to say that you would always, how to counter the negative PR and publicity they're getting is really starting to have what we call influencers push the narrative. You want to go on YouTube and get your point across. You want to make sure that And the reason why I say YouTube is because mainstream media as we know it is big box, as I call it, is not necessarily hitting the needle anymore. You really want to go in what I call small boxes, small screens, like your mobile phones, your YouTube channels, be on podcasts to really start to make sure that you get ahead of any messaging. Being on the front of the steps and stating your case, especially in this political environment, is not the way to go. You want other people stating your case for you. You want other people out there talking about their experiences with you, not just when something happens, but before something happens. Because then people can say, I know her, I've worked with her, I respect her, or I have worked with them and that was so out of norm for that person. But you have to be doing this on an ongoing basis. I feel that one of the things that really tripped Vice President Kamala Harris up was that she had not been out there prior to. And after reading her book, you understand why that was happening within the administration. But that is something that is really key, is to make sure you're constantly building and working on your reputation and shut anything down. One of the things that I do with employees or former employees is my thing is just pay them off. Like, it's not worth going back and forth with people because my reputation is too important. And I've worked for 30 years to build a strong reputation, knowledge, trust, and my name means something very positive in these streets, as the young people say. So for me, knowing how to maintain your reputation is critical, and having the right publicists, the right handlers, the right fixers on board to help you with your reputation is key. And so when you look at some of the things that are happening politically, especially when it comes to these two individuals, they need some help. And the one thing they need to do is to start getting a really good publicist, because having the right PR person to really help craft and protect your brand, your reputation, is critical to ensuring that you have positive attribution just in your career in general, not just now, but moving forward. Because if you're not a congresswoman anymore, if you're not an attorney general anymore, you still want to be able to get a phone call to get those $100,000 speaking engagements. So it's just really important that you start to really work on not saying too much and letting other people talk for you. And you don't need to talk about yourself. You know, that's not a good look. That would be my recommendation for them too, is to make sure they really start looking at getting publicists. Personally, now you need a fixers and a crisis communication person. So what separates these people? So a publicist is someone who is working on your reputation throughout your whole career, right? So they're making sure that you get working to get an opinion editorial done where you're writing something about something that's trending, something that is cultural, relevant politically, whether that's just what's going on in the shift in economics, whatever your industry is, right? So they are working to get your name out there, getting you those opportunities to make sure you're the first person they call if they need someone to go on CNN, or now even being a blogger or contributing interview on Don Lemon's show, even on Sean Ryan, who I watch and I love him. And so that person is constantly working on your reputation throughout before there's anything that ever happens, right? They're making sure you have a positive narrative associated with your name. The fixer is when the itch hits the fan, you call them to say, I think I'm going to have a problem. I need your help. I need your guidance. That's the person that when stuff starts to get a little crazy. Crisis communications persons, or crisis comm, CC, as we personally call it within the agency, that is the person who it's already hit the fan. And now you need somebody to help clean it up. So all these three people work together. The difference in pricing is a really good PR person is probably going to be about $225 an hour. A fixer is going to be roughly about $500 an hour. And a crisis comm person can run anywhere between $750 an hour to $1,200 an hour. For those who are high end, you're going to have to break your bank a little bit. So I hope this helps. And I'm praying that you need a publicist. You don't need a fixer or a crisis communications person. So I hope this blesses you. I hope this helps you. I love enlightening everyone about things in PR communications and marketing. That's my background. I've been doing it for 30 years. I love you all. God bless you and have an amazing day.